Welcome back to That Was History, a show where we look at the calendar for historical events and tell you something about them. Here's your list of what we've got going on this week, and these are some really interesting ones if I do say so myself. Oh, and before I forget, if you watched our last episode, you know that we asked you guys a trivia question. Be sure to stay tuned until the end to find out the answer.
Vincent van Gogh. Many of you may not be familiar with this man or even know of his existence. Believe it or not, he is one of the most influential painters of the 20th century. Unfortunately, though, Van Gogh's life was not always an easy one. For example, he was the second child in his family but fell into the responsibilities and expectations of the firstborn. This was because the child before him was stillborn, and interestingly enough, the firstborn son was also named Vincent and shared Van Gogh's exact birthday. After realizing that he was a duplicate in the eyes of his parents, Van Gogh lived a life of sorrow and remorse. He was constantly angry with others and preferred to be left to himself. Many of his greatest works express the dark emotions that he felt. Despite all of his hardships, the paintings have become his greatest accomplishments. Need further proof? On March 30th of 1987, Van Gogh's painting Sunflowers was purchased by an anonymous buyer for $36.3 million. Not too shabby, is it?
The concept of time is a very strange one, wouldn't you agree? A lot of us base our entire lives around this idea and never really stop to think about what time really is. Is it absolute or relative to a single individual's point of view? I couldn't even begin to tell you. On the one hand, time helps us keep up with what year it is, which makes me lean towards absolute. But if you ask people around the world what time it is, you will get plenty of different answers. Yes, I understand that it all depends on your location on Earth, but even if you ask 10 people in one city, you are guaranteed to get different answers. To make things even more interesting, something happened on March 31st of 1918 that would complicate time even more. That's daylight savings time. This time of year is where you lose an hour of sleep for no apparent reason. Just kidding, there actually is a reason. Invented by George Vernon Hudson, daylight savings time is supposed to help us get more use out of the sun's natural light in the evening. Which makes sense because it was first used around the time frame of World War I. People have to work and farmers have to farm. And that's good and all, but the vast majority of the world does not recognize daylight savings time. Here's a map showing daylight savings time use. Blue locations currently observe daylight savings time. Orange colors mean they have observed it before, and red countries have never used it before in their lives. Based off of this information, what time is real time? I have no idea.
Busy day at work, or just a busy day in general? Well, a quick and easy meal for you to make would be spaghetti. They've made it so simple and easy now that you can even heat your noodles in the microwave. Well, what if you were told that you could grow spaghetti and therefore not have to buy it anymore? This would make for a quick and easy and priceless meal. Well, this is not true because spaghetti is not something that can be grown. In fact, spaghetti is baked out of flour much like bread. Well, with 50 years of April Fool jokes from the media world, the BBC would create a hoax panorama program that would be about the spaghetti crops in Switzerland. These would show women carefully plucking strands of spaghetti from a tree and laying them out in the sun to dry. Well, from what I already told you, spaghetti cannot be grown. It has to be baked, cut, and then the drying or cooking process takes place. Now, it should be remembered in context that spaghetti was not a widely eaten food in the UK in 1957, and it was also considered an exotic delicacy by most. So this would mean that mostly wealthy people would only be seen eating spaghetti, but in this show the portrayal was that more and more poor people could indulge themselves in such a delicacy.
This time frame every year is a very interesting one. Many people celebrate Easter, whether it be for religious significance or just for family time with the kids. A countless number of Easter eggs are decorated and used in activities such as Easter egg hunting, where eggs are hidden in various locations for children to find. But there's another game that has been played around the world dealing with Easter eggs as well. It is known as Easter egg rolling. The rules vary by location, but all of them revolve around the premise of rolling an egg from one point to another. Interestingly enough, the White House hosts an Easter egg roll on the White House lawn every year. This activity is a race where children push an egg through the grass with a long-handled spoon. Surrounding events include appearances by White House personalities in Easter bunny costumes, speeches and book readings, as well as other exhibits. This all started on April 2nd of 1877 when the first Easter egg roll was held at the White House under the orders of President Rutherford B. Hayes.
Tornadoes. They are that scary force of nature that we all pray to avoid during our lifetime. They are destructive and demolish anything in their path. Now, while one tornado is considered dangerous and deadly, what about 148? We talked a bit earlier about April Fool's jokes, but this storm that started brewing on April 1st was nothing more than a natural disaster. On April 3rd of 1974, 148 tornadoes would touch down all the way from Georgia to Canada, all within a 16-hour time period. At times, there would be as many as 15 separate tornadoes on the ground. To give you a bit of background, tornadoes are rated from F0 to F5. Out of all the tornadoes that touched down on this day, 5 of them were categorized as F5 tornadoes. It was said in Indiana that forecasters became so frustrated that they blanketed the whole entire state with a tornado watch because of such a widespread outbreak. I can imagine with a changing atmosphere we have today, the occasional tornado or two, but never could I imagine an outbreak of a natural disaster of this size.
Cats or dogs? It's an age-old debate between animal lovers of all kinds to decide which of the two species is the better pet. Personally, I love dogs more so than cats, so sorry in advance to all of you cat lovers out there. Due to my canine appreciation, it is only fitting that our next event deal with dogs. What kind of event do you ask? Well, on April 4th of 1873, the Kennel Club was founded. This club is the oldest and first official registry of purebred dogs in the world, and they act as the governing body for various canine activities, including dog shows, dog agility, and working trials. They operate the National Registry of Pedigree Dogs in the United Kingdom, and they act as a lobby group on issues involving dogs in the UK. Fun fact for you, as of 2013, the club recognizes a total of 211 different breeds.
Today in our society, with the decreasing value of the dollar, we are all encouraged to buy and stockpile on gold. Well, back in the 1930s, the exact opposite occurred. President Franklin D. Roosevelt would sign an executive order for the confiscation of gold. During this time, the economy was going through the Great Depression, and since everyone was keeping their gold to themselves, the prosperity of the country was not improving. The order issued on April 5th of 1933 stated that all persons were required to deliver on or before May 1st of 1933 all but a small amount of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates owned by them to the Federal Reserve in exchange for $20.67, which is equivalent to $371.10 in today's currency. If you were in violation of this order, you could be fined up to $10,000, which in today's money is $180,000. Under this executive order, there was only one prosecution, but it did not hold up due to the fact that the order was invalid without the signature of the Secretary of Treasury. This ultimately would force Roosevelt to issue a new order which would only be in effect for a few months until the passage of the Gold Reserve Act on January 30th of 1934.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this episode, and we hope that you were able to take something away from this one. As promised, it is time to reveal the answer to the trivia question from the last episode. We quizzed everyone to tell us which pope is considered to have served for the shortest amount of time. The answer? Urban VII. He died on September 27th of 1590, which is only 13 days after his reign began. So there you have it. Be sure to come back next Friday for our latest episode.
Please follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and if you're having trouble finding them, just type the links below in your browser and it'll take you straight to the page. And more importantly, please click the subscribe button to your right so that you can get the weekly update from That Was History.